Another week, another Pokemon Champions meta shift. Let's talk about it. Last week we spoke about this Zard-wise Sylveon team really solidifying and dominating absolutely everywhere. And that hasn't actually fully stopped. At this latest VR, we saw Stefano Greppi still placing extremely high with the Zard-Y and the Sylveon, also the Mega Aerodactyl, also the Basque, also the Garchomp. These have been the mainstays in the team, with of course that last slot shifting a lot over the last video. So Stefano went for the Farigiraf, other people might have an Aegislash or an Ariados or stuff like that. It's important to realize what was happening in the meta to then see how people have reacted. And this was definitely the mainstay before, but it's not fully gone just yet. It is still a real team you have to watch out for. Now, looking at the top cut of the latest VR, and I have also been looking at the Limitless events, more on that later, it is very clear that Basque is the king of the format. And we've seen this a few weeks already, but look at this top cut. We see Basque, Basque, no Basque. Basque, 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 no Basque. Basque, 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 Basque. Basque is everywhere. Basque is the best mon. And the interesting thing is the sets have also changed. At first we were talking about the split between Choice Scarf and Focus Sash as like the two main sets. We saw one Citrus Berry somewhere here and there. But now we're also seeing Mystic Water Basculegions all over this top cut. So Basque, even though everyone is sick of it and it's like obviously the best non-restricted mon, there is still variety in how you run your Basque, and depending on what item you're running, it might change which moves you're running, and more importantly, it will change how the mon runs. When I'm bringing a Basque with a Mystic Water, that Kingambit is a whole lot scarier. When I'm running a Focus Sash, that Kingambit is a whole lot less scary. When I run a Scarf, I'm kind of stoked that certain Zard-Ys might be completely nuked or very close to nuked, whereas if I'm running Mystic Water, suddenly I might get Solar Beamed. So yes, Basque is king, but you have to watch out for which set ends up being the mainstay, and so far it's not entirely clear which one is winning. The only thing I can say with like some level of certainty is that currently it looks like the Scarf version is losing. There is still Scarf in this top cut, but way less than before. Now the other obvious king here is Charizard Y. Even though at first, of course, you might think, okay, we have like Mega Gengar, we have Mega Zard, we have Mega Floette, these are the best Mega Evolutions. The longer the weeks go on, the more obvious it becomes that it's really just Zard Y's world, and the others are still very strong, but Zard Y is like overwhelmingly the strongest Mega, and it seems to not be very close. Again, look at this top cut. The top 4 is all Zard Y, then a Blastoise and another Zard Y, then a Scizor, then 2 more Zard Y. It is the best mon, and of course that is then also going to have effect on what other mons are going to be getting better, because it leads to the new kid on the block. This team right here. We saw Fidecampo starting to use this on the ladder to great effect, and of course he wasn't the only one. There were also very many other good players gradually swapping to this team, and it's essentially like a hyper offense Glimmora team. And very funnily, if you've played Scarlet and Violet, you actually know that hyper offensive Glimmora with a fire attacker is nothing new. We've seen Flutter Mane, Glimmora, Chi-Yu type of stuff do very well, especially to counter certain balance teams in the past. And so Glimmora being here with that Charizard and with that Whimsicott, and interestingly actually some versions of this team had Fairy Feather Whimsicott, so suddenly the Moonblast of Whimsicott was doing more damage than one might think, almost like a very, very discount Flutter Mane, let's say. It does feel very much like that Scarlet and Violet version of Hyper Offense. Now you do still see the other typical best mons of the format. You see the Kingambit, the Garchomp, the Basque, and so in this VR top cut we had 2 players actually using it, and of course one of them was still Fidecampo. So not just being good on ladder, but also converting that into a VR top. So this is definitely a team you want to watch out for. This is the next hot new trendy team. And the other hot new trendy team is the subscribe team. So if you want to join the subscribe team, click that button right now so you're always up to date when it comes to the Pokemon Champions meta. I'm releasing meta analysis every Monday, so go subscribe. Now if you've been paying attention to these top cuts, you will notice one particular Pokemon showing up out of absolutely nowhere. Now don't get me wrong, Mega Glimmora was seen already as somewhat of an anti-meta pick. I'm pretty sure I also showed it in my anti-meta mons video a few weeks ago. People knew Mega Glim is good at countering some of the best things. Power Gem is going to take out the Charizard Y, Sludge Bomb is going to take out the Floette, Earth Power in general is just really good. There's a lot of things weak to ground. But it turns out you don't necessarily need to use your Mega to make Glim shine. It still has access to these very good coverage garbage moves right now, and you can just use it as a tech to counter some of the best teams right now. So look right here, we have the top cut on the right, where 4th place Glim, 6th place Glim, 7th place Glim, 8th place Glim. It's Glim, 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 Glim. But then if you look at the rest of day 2, 12th place Glim, 13th place Glim, 15th place Glim, 17th place Glim. There's a whole lot of Glim. And it's not hard to see why, because if you see the things it's countering, it's nuking Zard Y, Dragonite. It has Earth Power for King Gambit. It has the Sludge Bomb for the Floette and the Sylveon. It has the Power Gem for the Incin. It has the Earth Power for the Aegislash. It is hitting some of the best mons right now for super effective. And you don't need to commit your Mega. You can still put your Mega on your Zard Y and then take out other Zard Ys with your Glim. And it's Focus Sash. It's gonna take a hit anyway. And Toxic Debris is also kind of painful. Imagine you're on something like Focus Sash Basculegion, but the Toxic Spikes instantly break your Sash. That is not bad at all. Basically, if Glim gets good, Focus Sash gets a whole lot worse. Except for, of course, on Poison. So maybe your Sneasler Focus Sash is quite okay. But that is a joke, because Sneasler is a joke. Sneasler stonks are down. Now, of course, this is somewhat in jest, because Sneasler is still one of the best mons in Champions available right now. But if we look at results, Sneasler has really fallen off. What at one point was the most played, strongest mon in the format, making Incense feel awful with its wide herb and so forth, is now only seen on one team in Top Cut. That is absolutely crazy. There could be various reasons for that. On the one hand, of course, Charizard Y's Heatwave just does obscene amounts of damage. Close Combat doesn't do that much to Charizard Y. Dire Claw doesn't even really do that much either. I mean, Sneasler is still a Sneasler. It's still gonna do damage, but it's nowhere near KO. And are you hoping to para or sleep it to fix the issue? Then, of course, Basque does a whole lot of damage to Sneasler, and Sneasler does no damage back to it. I mean, again, you can Dire Claw sleep it, but again, do you want to gamble on just that? Probably not. Garchomp is also already there to click Earthquake next to the Charizard. There's Aerodactyl Mega on some of these teams, clicking Dual Wing Beat. Sneasler just isn't having the greatest time right now. That doesn't mean the mon is bad, of course. In a vacuum, it's still an incredible mon, but the format has evolved to where it's no longer that amazing currently. And because of that, another mon gets to shine a whole lot, and that is King Gambit. Now, we already knew King Gambit was really good, right? Don't get me wrong. It's just that for a few weeks now, it seemed like Basque was just better. And results currently still say it is, but don't forget, if Sneasler stonks are down, King Gambit's biggest counter is gone. Now, Zard Y is still scary, you know, that Heat Wave and that Weather Ball are still gonna do a whole lot. But when it comes to dealing with Basque and just in general taking care of things like the Intimidate from Incin, King Gambit is just a powerhouse, and you can look at the top cut right here. 1st place has a King Gambit, 4th place has a King Gambit, 6th place has a King Gambit, 7th place has a King Gambit, 9th place has a King Gambit, 10th place has a King Gambit. King Gambit stonks are up because Sneasler stonks are down. This is very much, in my opinion, one of those current snapshot trends. If Basque is up, King Gambit is up. Sneasler is down, King Gambit is up. But King Gambit is up, so Sneasler goes up, so Basque goes up. It might just rock, paper, scissors a little like that. Now, speaking about less obvious Pokemon, we have the new underrated gem, and that is Vivillon. Now, we haven't really seen this mon pop off that much just yet in Champions, but here in this top cut, we actually have 2 of them. And interestingly, they both have the same item. They are both Choice Scarf Vivillon with a bunch of support moves. So despite being Scarf and being locked into those support moves, you're still like, I'm fine with it. So it has Compound Ice, meaning its accuracy is going to be higher on those Sleep Powders. You have an extremely fast Sleep Powder, and the format honestly doesn't have a whole lot of answers to Sleep right now. Best thing you can hope for is a Lumberry, which is not really something you want to be running because there's not that much status anyway. But of course, this mon might change that. If a bunch of teams are starting to run Vivillons with Choice Scarf Sleep Powder, you're gonna have to put some Lumberry or some grass, you know, some solutions on your team. Maybe Sinistcha might even see a revival just to Rage Powder away the Sleep Powders from Vivillon. Now, beyond the Scarf and the Sleep Powder, there are some differences in these sets. We do see the Hurricane on both and the Rage Powder on both, but we see Tailwind on one and Rain Dance on the other. So these can fulfill the same role, being Redirection or Tailwind or Sleep, but they can also fulfill different roles depending on the team they're on. So for example, on Yosuke's team right here with the Mega Blastoise, being able to click Rain Dance, Water Spout, kinda crazy. While on Shunkeido's team, we have Choice Scarf, Tailwind, because maybe the rest of the team wants to be faster. It's also interesting how both of them are like Tail Room teams. You know, you have a Giraffe on both, you have some slower stuff and some faster options on both. I'm really interested in seeing if this is the new evolution of Tail Room, because I do feel like we haven't really had a solid staying power Tail Room in this format just yet. So do keep an eye out on this Pokemon right now. Finally, I want to draw your attention to these Limitless tours. We had 3 bigger Limitless tours, and 2 of them I wanted to highlight, where the Mon with the highest win rate out of Mons with a solid amount of play at least has been Frostlass. So Frostlass, of course, we've mostly seen it on these teams with Kangambit and Sneasler, but it is a really solid mega, and it can also kind of gamble itself out of bad matchups. You know, like worst case, you can always fish for Blizzard freezes and Dire Claw sleeps, and in combination, your odds of hitting like either are pretty good. Now, it doesn't seem to convert, however, into Victory Road tours, and I'm not sure why. I do have to say, in general, Victory Road does attract the stronger players. You know, they're going to be playing for more cash prizing, they're going to be playing against better players, so they consider it better practice. So there's like a prestige feedback loop almost. As the format progresses, Limitless tours get a little less attention compared to, you know, when champions just dropped. Don't get me wrong, Limitless tours are still really good practice, and some of them are still getting over 100 players. But so I don't want to stare myself to death at these numbers, but it's just something I picked up on. The fact that it was in both of these tours the best performing Mon, maybe there's something there. Maybe this is like an early look at what might be coming next. Then again, the fact that Charizard Y is like the best mega right now in the VR tours tells me maybe not. So I don't know what to make of this data. I don't know why the Zard Ys aren't bullying the Frostlasses out of the competition in the Limitless tours while they would in the Victory Road ones, but I guess we'll wait and see. Now, in terms of replicas, we had Nico here showing a Whimsicott team with the Glimmora. It is not exactly the same as the one Fede Campo was running in the VR just now, but it is quite close to what he was running on ladder before. And so if you want to try out some offensive Whimsicott Glimmora type stuff, this might be the first place to look. That's all for today. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you soon. Ciao.